There is a quiet agony in being betrayed by those we once sheltered beneath the roof of our trust. The sting of betrayal is not in the sharpness of the blade, but in the hand that holds it. The hand you once reached for in moments of storm, the hand you once believed would never turn against you. What wounds the soul most deeply is not the enemy's attack, but the friend's departure into the shadows of disloyalty. And when you are left standing alone, bleeding from invisible wounds, you begin to wonder if justice will ever find its way to you. Will the skies remain silent? Will the wrongs be forgotten in the endless turning of time? Pause and consider this. The silence of heaven is not the absence of God's reply, but the quiet forging of his answer in the fires of his divine timing. Every tear you have shed, every sleepless night you have endured, every whispered prayer in the hollow of your loneliness, they have not drifted into nothingness. They have been gathered, held close to the heart of the one who sees what man ignores. What if I told you that your rise is already written in the script of justice? That the very height to which you will ascend is the precise answer to the depth of betrayal you have endured. You see, betrayal seeks to bury you beneath the weight of despair. But what it fails to understand is that the soil meant to cover you becomes the very ground from which you will rise. The stone they rolled across the door of your destiny, believing it would seal your fate, is the same stone that will be rolled away to reveal the miracle of your rising. Their treachery is but a spark, and God is the flame that consumes it. Think back to the moments when you questioned your worth, not because you doubted yourself, but because their actions tried to convince you that you were expendable. How often did you replay their lies in your mind, as if searching for the place where you might have gone wrong? Yet it was not you who failed them. It was they who failed themselves by betraying a soul so pure, a heart so sincere. And now, as you stand on the edge of restoration, you must understand that their betrayal has only accelerated the unfolding of your destiny. Ask yourself, why would God allow the wound if he did not intend to heal it in a way that displays his glory? Why would he permit the breaking if not to make your rising a testimony that shakes the very foundations of those who doubted you? Your rise will not be a quiet restoration. It will be a declaration. It will be a declaration. It will be the answer. Thundered from the heavens, to every whisper of deceit they spread against you. This is not merely about vindication. It is about elevation. It is about God taking what was meant for your downfall and using it as the very platform for your triumph. Can you feel it stirring within you? The quiet strength that survived the storm? The silent resolve that outlived the noise of their betrayal? That, my friend, is the sound of your rise being prepared. Now, let us journey deeper into this truth. Let us unfold the layers of this divine reply. Let us see, point by point, how your suffering is transforming into a rise so profound that even your betrayers will be forced to witness it. They tried to write your ending, but God is writing your new beginning. Your silent suffering has been heard in the courts of heaven. There are moments in life when the pain becomes too deep for words. You sit in the stillness of night, staring at walls that echo with memories of betrayal, trying to make sense of how people who once held your heart so carefully could drop it without remorse. You wanted to scream, but your voice trembled and died in your throat. You wanted to cry out, but the world seemed too loud to listen. So you suffered in silence, not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to carry pain no one else could understand. It wasn't just the betrayal that broke you. It was the realization that the ones who caused it never looked back. They didn't ask if you were okay. They didn't wonder if you were still breathing through the wreckage they left behind. And that kind of pain, the kind that echoes inside but finds no place to land outside, becomes a wound you learn to live with, not because it hurts less, but because you've grown used to bleeding quietly. You went through days pretending nothing was wrong. You smiled when you wanted to disappear. You carried the weight of disappointment in your chest while giving comfort to others. You kept showing up, even when you didn't feel seen. And in all of this, you may have wondered, does anyone see me? Does anyone hear the silent screams inside my soul? The answer, though you could not always feel it, has always been yes. God heard it all. When everyone else overlooked your trembling hands, He saw. When you knelt in exhaustion, holding back tears because there was no one to catch them, He stood beside you. In the stillness of the night, when your spirit broke down in whispers no human ear could catch, heaven leaned in. The very tears you wiped away in secret became sacred offerings, rising like incense to a God who collects sorrow, not as waste but as witness. Every sleepless night was counted, every ache in your heart was noted. While others dismissed your pain as weakness, heaven recorded it as proof of your strength. You didn't crumble under what was designed to break you. You endured. You stood still when storms roared through your life. And while the world moved on, fast, indifferent and blind, the one who holds justice in His hands wrote your name into His plan. What they don't know is that every time they lied about you, ignored your cries, used your loyalty like a convenience, they weren't just hurting you, they were laying evidence at the feet of God. Every betrayal became a testimony. Every ounce of mistreatment became a reason for your rise. The heavens, unlike men, do not overlook the suffering of the faithful. You were never invisible. You were being prepared. And this is why your silent suffering matters. It wasn't for nothing. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't foolishness to love deeply or to trust someone unworthy. It was your heart proving itself worthy of divine restoration. God does not respond to empty noise. He responds to sincere hearts. And your silence spoke louder than their cruelty ever could. They believed your quiet meant defeat, that you were weak, broken, disposable. But they didn't see what God was building in you beneath the surface. While they moved on as if nothing happened, heaven was crafting a reply, one that would shake the very ground beneath them. Your silence was not the end of your story. It was the pause before divine intervention. Their betrayal became the blueprint for your breakthrough. It's almost unthinkable, isn't it, that something as cruel, as unjust, as gut-wrenching as betrayal could become the very doorway to your destiny. When they left you in pieces, you thought it was the end. They didn't just break your heart, they shattered your sense of safety, your belief in goodness, your trust in the people you once called family, friends, or even soulmates. But what they didn't realize was that their betrayal was not your ending. It was the beginning of something they couldn't destroy, your breakthrough. You didn't ask for the betrayal. You didn't deserve it. All you did was love sincerely, support without limits, and show up when no one else would. But they took your loyalty and saw it as weakness. They took your kindness and turned it into a weapon. They planned their exit long before you noticed the signs. And when the moment came, they walked away without a second thought, while you were left holding the weight of what they'd done, like a burden chained to your soul. But what if the burden was never meant to crush you? What if it was the blueprint for your becoming? You see, pain rearranges things. It clears away what was never meant to last. And sometimes it takes betrayal to reveal what's broken beneath the surface. Without their deception, you might have stayed in a place too small for your calling. Without their lies, you might have kept offering pieces of yourself to people who only knew how to take. Without that heartbreak, you might have never discovered the power that lay dormant inside you, waiting for something to awaken it. What they intended as your destruction became the tool God used to elevate you. Think about it. When they left, you were forced to stand alone. When they broke you, you had to rebuild from scratch. That rebuilding taught you strength you never knew you had. It taught you boundaries. It taught you discernment. But most importantly, it taught you that your value never came from their validation. It came from the purpose planted inside you before they ever entered your life. And here's the part that will always turn the story. They were part of the plan, but only the painful part. They were never meant to stay. They were only meant to shape the conditions that would cause you to rise. Their betrayal was a hammer, but you were not glass. You were a diamond in disguise. They hit you, hoping to shatter you. Instead, they revealed your brilliance. Every time they mocked your pain or underestimated your recovery, they unknowingly confirmed that you were rising. You see, people only try to destroy what they fear might outshine them. They didn't see your worth until it was too late. And now, as you step forward into the breakthrough that was born from your brokenness, their absence becomes your clarity. So let them whisper, let them wonder, because the very storm they sent to drown you became the flood that carried you out of captivity. You didn't just survive what they did. You grew from it. You rose from it. You became something unshakable because of it. And now your breakthrough stands as a silent answer to their betrayal, a living testimony that the plans of man can never override the destiny written by God. The weight of their deceit will become their own burden. Deceit is a strange thing. At first it seems light to carry. They speak the lies as if they are weightless, effortless, slipping from their tongue with practiced ease. They build their false narratives, painting themselves as victims while casting you as the villain. In the beginning, it appears they walk freely, untouched by the heaviness of their betrayal. But what they fail to understand is that deceit does not vanish once spoken. It stays. It lingers. It collects in hidden corners of the soul, growing heavier with every passing day. They believed they could escape the consequences of their choices. They thought that if they moved fast enough, lied convincingly enough, and masked their intentions with enough charm, they would never have to answer for the pain they caused. But the truth has a way of waiting patiently. It doesn't need to rush. It knows that time is the faithful servant of justice. And as time moves forward, the very lies they once wielded like weapons will start to collapse inward, crushing them beneath the weight of their own deceit. Every twisted word they spoke against you is like a stone placed upon their shoulders. One stone may feel like nothing, two stones still manageable, but over time, as they continue to add lie upon lie to sustain the image they desperately try to uphold, the burden becomes unbearable. They find themselves trapped in their own web, each thread tightening around them with silent persistence. Their sleep becomes restless, their peace interrupted by the quiet knock of truth at the door of their conscience. They try to drown it out with distractions, pretending all is well, but the mind cannot easily forget what the heart knows is wrong. They carry your story inside them, not as a memory to cherish, but as a shadow that follows them everywhere. They thought they discarded you, but in reality they carry you more than you ever carried them. There comes a day when even their smile begins to falter. The weight of maintaining their falsehood drains their energy, their spirit, their very joy. People may still see their outward confidence, but inside they are crumbling under the invisible burden of their deceit. The walls they built to hide their guilt grow narrower, closing in on them until they can barely breathe beneath the suffocation of their own making. What they thought was freedom was a false escape. They didn't realize that by betraying you, they chained themselves to the consequences of their actions. There is no running from the truth. It lives in their mind, haunts their moments of silence, and stains their future relationships. Every time they try to build something new, the foundation is unstable because it is laid upon lies. And here you are, having carried their betrayal, having suffered under the weight they placed upon you, now rising into freedom as they sink deeper beneath the heaviness of their own choices. You shed your pain through healing, through growth, through surrender to a higher justice. But they, unable to face their own reflection, continue to carry the increasing weight of their deceit, and it is this burden that becomes their undoing. They will wear their betrayal like a garment they cannot remove. It will follow them into rooms where they crave respect and recognition, and instead they will feel the eyes of truth piercing through every facade. They underestimated the power of divine justice, believing that they could harm you and walk away untouched. But the universe is not blind, and God is never mocked. What they carry now is no longer your pain. It is their sentence. Your rise will be unavoidable and unstoppable. There is a power that builds quietly in the depths of despair, a force that gathers strength in the shadows where no one thinks to look. When you were abandoned, left to wrestle with your own brokenness, they believed they had halted your progress. They thought they had silenced your dreams and sealed your fate. What they never expected was that you were not finished. You were just beginning. Your rise is not a possibility, it is a certainty. It is the law of divine justice, the undeniable outcome of a heart that refuses to surrender to defeat. While they celebrated your fall, while they mocked your pain in whispers behind closed doors, something extraordinary was unfolding within you. The cracks they caused in your spirit allowed light to pour in, illuminating parts of you that had never been touched before. Pain sharpened your focus. Betrayal expanded your resilience. Isolation deepened your faith. They believed you would remain in the ruins they left behind, too broken to rebuild, too wounded to move forward. But they underestimated the fire that pain ignites in the soul of the wronged. They failed to see that your setback was not an end, but a gathering of strength. Like the tide pulled back before the mighty wave, you were drawing power from the depths, preparing for a return so fierce it could not be denied. No matter how they try to block your path, no matter the obstacles they place in your way, your rise is inevitable. There is a momentum now that no human hands can halt. Their schemes become powerless against the favor that covers you. Their attempts to discredit you fall silent in the presence of undeniable growth. You are moving beyond their reach, beyond their influence, beyond the limits they tried to impose upon your life. This rise is not dependent on their apology, nor is it contingent upon their approval. You do not need their permission to flourish. You do not require their recognition to succeed. The force that lifts you now is divine, unstoppable, and far greater than the small minds that once tried to hold you down. They thought they could write the final chapter of your story, but they were merely a footnote in the narrative God is still unfolding. And as you ascend, you will notice something remarkable. Their power over you diminishes with every step you take upward. What once felt like chains around your soul now lies in broken pieces behind you. Each stride forward is a declaration that their betrayal has no authority over your destiny. Their actions cannot cage a spirit destined to soar. You will not have to chase your rise, it will chase you. Doors will open not because of who they are, but because of who you have become. Opportunities will seek you out, not because of their absence, but because of your presence. Your rise is a living testimony that no betrayal can bury what heaven has destined to grow. They will watch, powerless to intervene as you emerge from the ashes they thought would consume you, and in that moment they will understand a truth they never saw coming, that the very betrayal they believed would end you became the wind beneath your wings. You rise, not in spite of them, but because of the strength they unknowingly forged within you. They will witness what they tried to destroy flourish before their eyes. There is a peculiar torment that life reserves for those who sought to destroy the innocent. The torment of being forced to watch what they tried to ruin not only survive, but thrive beyond their wildest comprehension. When they betrayed you, they believed they were closing the chapter of your life. In their eyes, you were finished. They imagined you fading into the shadows, defined by the wounds they inflicted, silenced by the weight of their cruelty. They never once considered that you would rise from those ruins and become something greater than their limited minds could ever envision. They walked away confident, perhaps even smug, believing their absence would drain you of strength. They thought their betrayal would be the storm that uproots you for good, leaving you collapsed beneath the wreckage of trust and love they so carelessly discarded. But what they failed to see is that storms do not only bring destruction, they also bring rain that nourishes the very soil they sought to poison. As you begin to flourish, they will witness it not from a distance that protects them from regret, but from a front row seat they never expected to occupy. Life has a way of turning the tables in silence, with no announcement, no warning. One day they will glance in your direction, perhaps out of curiosity or even lingering arrogance, only to find you blooming in the very place they left barren. They will see the doors opening for you, the opportunities unfolding like petals in the sun, the joy returning to your face as if the betrayal never had the power to steal it. Their eyes, once cold with indifference, will struggle to look away. And it is not simply because they see you flourishing. It is because they know, deep within their conscience, that they tried to kill what now lives more abundantly than before. They will feel a tightening in their chest when they witness your growth, not out of envy alone, but out of the dawning realization that their actions did not end you. Instead, they unwillingly became participants in your rise. They will watch as people celebrate you, as new relationships form around you built on genuine respect and honor. They will see you embraced by opportunities they secretly desired for themselves, and in those moments they will wrestle with the bitter truth that their betrayal did not diminish you. It only unveiled the depth of your resilience. You became a garden in the desert, a beacon in the darkness, a testimony to the world that destruction cannot touch, a soul protected by divine favor. They might try to pretend it doesn't affect them, wearing a mask of apathy, but the weight of their private regret will gnaw at their spirit. Each time your name is mentioned in triumph, each time your face appears in places they thought you'd never reach, they will be forced to confront their failure. Not your failure, but their own. Because while they were busy tearing you down, they neglected to build something meaningful for themselves. Now, they are left with empty hands, while you carry the harvest of what they tried to bury. And perhaps the greatest irony of all is this: they cannot look away. No matter how much they wish to turn their eyes from your success, life will ensure they see it, not as an act of cruelty, but as a divine revelation that no betrayal, no matter how calculated or vicious, can stop the flourishing of a soul destined to rise. You will grow, not in secret, but in full view of those who once doubted your ability to heal, to rebuild, to soar. And their witness of your triumph will be a silent, inescapable verdict that echoes louder than any words ever could. Your rise will awaken their sleeping conscience. There is a peculiar silence that follows betrayal, a quiet lull in the betrayer's mind, where they convince themselves that what they have done will never rise to haunt them. In their moment of deception, they believe they are free. They believe they have escaped the weight of accountability, tucking their wrongdoings under the comfortable blanket of indifference. For a while they even sleep soundly, unaware that the seeds they sowed in cruelty and selfishness are already taking root, preparing to awaken their conscience in ways they never anticipated. At first, they carry on with life as if nothing happened, They smile in familiar places, laugh in familiar circles, carry on their conversations as though the betrayal they orchestrated was a distant and inconsequential act. They convince themselves they were justified, that their choices were necessary, even smart. They rehearse lies until they almost sound like truth in their own minds. But no matter how deeply they bury the reality of their actions, conscience has a way of stirring from its slumber when faced with undeniable truth. Your rise is that truth. Your quiet resilience, your refusal to stay broken, your determination to build even from the ruins they left behind. All of it becomes a mirror they cannot avoid. With every step you take upward, they are forced to see their reflection more clearly. And this reflection is not of the person they pretended to be, but of the one who inflicted pain on someone who only ever offered love and loyalty. What once slept within them now stirs violently, awakened by the undeniable evidence of your strength. They may not show it. They may wear the mask of pride a little tighter, laugh a little louder, try to display indifference as you ascend. But beneath that carefully crafted exterior, their conscience becomes restless. The success they once believed you would never achieve begins to disturb the narrative they created to comfort themselves. They told themselves you were weak, that you were dependent on them, that you would collapse without their presence in your life. And yet, here you are, rising. Each victory you earn shakes them awake a little more. Every achievement whispers in their ears that they were wrong. Each time someone praises you, celebrates you, chooses you, their heart feels a weight they cannot explain. It is the weight of recognition, the painful acknowledgement that they wronged someone who deserved so much better. Their soul, once lulled into numbness by arrogance and denial, now wrestles with the growing awareness that they betrayed not only you, but their own integrity. And what makes it more piercing is that your rise is not coated in revenge or bitterness. You are not rising to spite them. You are rising because you are always meant to. This purity of purpose strikes their conscience with even greater force. Had you risen in rage, they might have justified their guilt by framing you as bitter. But because you rise with quiet strength and grace, their excuses fall apart like fragile glass. There is no shield left to protect them from the truth pressing upon their hearts. What they see now is undeniable. They see you flourishing in spaces they thought you'd never reach. They see you standing taller, speaking with greater confidence, walking with a lightness they never expected you to regain. And with every moment of your elevation, their mind replays their choices, their words, their betrayal, over and over, like a haunting melody they cannot silence. Their conscience, once comfortably asleep, is now wide awake and restless. They may try to distract themselves, dive into new pursuits, surround themselves with noise to drown out the internal echo of their misdeeds. But the awakening of conscience is not easily quieted once it begins. It follows them into moments of stillness, creeps into their thoughts at unexpected times, and reminds them relentlessly that the pain they caused has not vanished, it has transformed. It has become the very power behind your rising, and no matter how far they run, they carry this awakening with them. Because your rise, born from their betrayal, has become a living reminder of their failure to honor what was once pure and true. The sight of you standing in strength shakes the foundation of their false justifications. They could no longer pretend their actions were harmless. You have become the undeniable evidence that they did not break you, they only awakened something far greater than they ever imagined. Your story will inspire others who are walking through betrayal. There is a silent fellowship among the wounded, a bond unspoken yet profoundly understood. Across quiet rooms and tear-stained pillows, there are souls who carry the weight of betrayal in their chests, just as you once did. They move through their days with heavy steps, forcing smiles that never quite reached their eyes, praying in whispers for relief they are no longer sure will come. They wonder if anyone sees them. They wonder if anyone else has walked this cruel path and found a way beyond the darkness that now seems endless. What they do not yet know is that your story is becoming the light that will guide them out of their shadows. There was a time when you too searched for such a light, a time when you felt swallowed by loneliness, wondering if healing was even possible after your heart had been so mercilessly torn apart. You yearned for someone to show you it was survivable, to prove that betrayal did not have the final word, but in those hollow moments, the world felt barren of such hope. It seemed as though no one understood, or worse, that those who could have offered comfort had turned their backs, leaving you to navigate the labyrinth of heartbreak alone. What you could not see then, and what others struggling now cannot yet see, is that your survival, your rise, would become the very testimony that they are desperately seeking. The story you are living is not just for you. It is a lifeline woven through your pain, destined to reach those drowning in the same deep waters. As you heal, as you grow stronger, as you step into the fullness of your restoration, your journey becomes a map for others to follow. It becomes proof that betrayal, as devastating as it feels, is not the end but the beginning of a powerful transformation. There are hearts right now, trembling under the weight of lies told by those they trusted. There are souls questioning their worth because someone they loved made them feel disposable. There are people who believe, with aching certainty, that they will never recover from the damage inflicted upon them. And then they see you. They hear your story. They witness even from afar the quiet courage it takes to rebuild a life from ruins. And in that moment something stirs within them, a flicker of hope, fragile yet undeniable. Your scars become symbols, not of defeat, but of survival. They are not shameful reminders of what you endured. They are emblems of the strength that carried you through the fire. When others see that you did not allow the betrayal to define you, that you refused to remain in the pit where you were left, they begin to imagine the possibility of their own rise. They start to believe that if you could stand again, so might they. There is extraordinary power in shared experience. It bridges the gaps between isolated hearts. It reminds the suffering that they are not abandoned in their pain. When you share your story, not necessarily with words, but through your life, your resilience, your unyielding spirit, you offer others more than comfort. You offer them a vision of victory they can claim as their own. You become living evidence that healing is not a distant dream, but a reachable reality. And even more profound is this truth: your rise becomes contagious. The energy of your resurgence ignites dormant strength in others. Without realizing it, you inspire them to take their first step toward freedom, to believe that restoration is not reserved for the lucky few, but is a gift available to all who dare to keep walking. Your triumph resonates far beyond your immediate circle. It echoes into hearts you may never meet, into souls silently watching from the shadows, clinging to the hope that somehow, someday, they too might overcome. They begin to see that betrayal, as brutal as it feels, does not have the power to bury destiny. They learn from your example that the pain meant to paralyze them can become the very force that propels them forward. And in this way, your rise becomes more than personal redemption. It becomes a revolution of hope for every soul still entangled in despair. Your story, once soaked in tears and shaped by heartbreak, transforms into a beacon. Without speaking a word, you declare to the broken-hearted, "I know your pain because I have lived it, but I also know your future because I am walking in it." This unspoken message pierces through their sorrow and plants seeds of courage in soil they believed was too barren for growth. As they watch you climb from the ruins and stretch toward new heights, they no longer see just your victory. They see the reflection of their own potential rising with you, awakened by the undeniable truth that what has been done to them does not have the authority to dictate what comes next. And now, as we come to this moment of stillness, I want you to pause and breathe in the depth of what you have just walked through. Feel it not only with your mind, but with every part of your soul. Let every word settle into the corners of your heart that have longed for understanding, for validation, for that quiet but unshakable assurance that your pain was not wasted. For too long you have carried the weight of betrayal like an anchor, dragged across the landscapes of your life by hands that never deserved to hold it in the first place. You wore your wounds like invisible armor, shielding yourself from further harm while silently yearning for justice that seemed always just out of reach. But what you could not yet see, in the moments when despair clouded your vision, was that justice had already begun its quiet, deliberate march towards you. Not with the noise of human revenge, not with bitterness or fury, but with the calm certainty of divine timing. And in that timing, your rise was always destined. Your rise is not a stroke of luck, nor is it an accident born of circumstance. It is the deliberate, undeniable answer from heaven to every wound they inflicted, to every lie they spread, to every moment they tried to diminish your light. You are not rising in silence anymore. You are rising in full view of those who thought they had buried you beneath their deceit. And as you ascend, as you step into spaces they never believed you could reach, their eyes will follow. Not because they wish you well, but because they cannot escape the truth of what they have done and what you have become in spite of them. Their betrayal did not break you, it built you. Their cruelty did not destroy you, it revealed you. And every step you now take toward your destiny echoes a message they can no longer ignore. That you were never at their mercy, you were always in the hands of a higher power. Let them witness it. Let them carry the weight of their choices as they watch you thrive in the very places they tried to lock you out of. Let them feel the awakening of their conscience as your story inspires others to rise from their own betrayals. You do not need to seek revenge. You do not need to utter a single word of reproach. Your rise is the loudest response, the clearest verdict, the most powerful reply heaven could give to their actions. Remember this, the same hands that once trembled in despair are now the hands lifting you toward your calling. The same heart that once ached beneath the crushing weight of betrayal now beats with the strength of survival and the promise of purpose. Your tears watered the soil of your future. Your pain carved the path of your elevation. And now, your story stands as living proof that no act of betrayal can bury a destiny written by God Himself. Walk forward with your head held high, not because you seek their acknowledgement, but because you have already been acknowledged by the one whose opinion matters above all. Walk forward knowing that your rise is not just for you, it is for every silent sufferer who has doubted that justice still lives. You carry not only your victory, but their hope as well. This is your time. This is your rise. And it is, without question, God's unmistakable, undeniable, and unstoppable reply to their betrayal.